Welcome to another episode of Untitled Car Project, show 44. I am your host, Grant Gonzalez.
Jeremy Molt.
And Rob Spring is out of the studio today, but we will be talking about Milwaukee Tools with a special guest, Cole Conrad, coming up. Before that, though, make sure you hit follow and like on any of our social media pages on Untitled Car Project on Facebook and on Instagram. Give us a like and a thumbs up star review on whatever listening device you are on. As well as recently discovered, we are now on Google Home as well as any Alexa-enabled devices simply by saying, Alexa, play the Untitled Car Project podcast.
So don't say the other one because it'll fire off.
Yeah, the other one will fire off. We have a Google Home in studio. All right, let's give Cole a call and let's get this show on the road.
All right, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's loud.
It's a little bit loud.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Look at that. It's beautiful.
Perfect.
Hey, guys. Good evening.
Hey, Cole. This is Grant.
And Jeremy.
With Untitled Car Project. How are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing fantastic. We're just in studio and getting everything ready.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sorry we couldn't do this in person.
Oh, it's all good. Maybe next time.
Yeah, you guys are in Portland, right?
Yeah. Up in the rainy state right now.
It's not rainy. It's just cold.
Well, it's almost snowing.
It's kind of cold.
Yeah.
So, right on. So we wanted to start with introductions. I was wondering if, Cole, if you can introduce yourself and tell us about like how you're involved with Milwaukee and stuff
For
like
sure. Are we live already?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My official title at Milwaukee is Senior Vice President of Product Management. Basically, that means I get to help develop and commercialize some really cool products.
Nice.
Specifically battery-powered tools. So I work on the power tool team.
Mm-hmm.
I've been with Milwaukee a little over 16 years. So actually, Milwaukee is really the only company I've worked for since graduating from school.
Nice.
Which is pretty hard to believe.
What did you go to school for? Was it specifically like in something that would involve your future in Milwaukee, or how'd that?
Yeah. At the time, I mean, honestly, when I picked my major, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I went to school for business, for marketing specifically.
Nice.
Yep. On the personal side,
Mm-hmm.
I've got two little boys. I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and a lovely wife.
Nice.
We've been married about 7 years. So that's just a brief introduction. I'm sure as we get through this conversation, we can dig in a little bit more to my history.
Yeah. So for our listeners, we met at SEMA earlier this year, and I take it because you were at SEMA. Are you a car person, you would say?
Yeah. I've listened to a couple of your guys' podcasts, so I don't think I'm quite as much of a car guy as you two gentlemen. Yeah. But
oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, I grew up. I grew up around cars. My dad's kind of a gearhead. He's got a couple of more like classic cars, muscle cars. He's got a 1968 Camaro.
Nice.
SS replica. He's got a couple of 1956 Ford F100s.
Ooh, that's my wheelhouse.
And I kind of inherited that gene. I've got a couple cars as well. I've
Nice.
got a 1965 Mustang.
Okay. Was that one of the first ones you got, or like is this one just right now you have?
That was my first car, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And maybe I'm going too deep here for the introduction, but
go as deep as you want. We love it.
Okay. Yeah. I picked that up. It was sitting in a friend's backyard.
Yeah.
It had probably been sitting 10 years, and I was, 16 years old, 17 years old, and I had a little bit of cash saved up, and this car wasn't running at all. So I bought it, and over the next 5 or 7 years, slowly kind of fixed it up, and I still own it, actually.
That's so awesome. What engine did it originally have in it, and then what is in it right now?
It's got the reason I bought it is because of the engine and the transmission. So it's got a 289 and then a 4-speed manual transmission. So it's a fun little car. I wouldn't say it hauls ass, but it's a fun car.
Yeah. Right on. What color is it right now?
It's silver.
Nice. Okay.
That's a good color. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the hardest part of working on that project, do you think?
The rust.
Yeah. Oh, it always is the rust.
Yeah, I mean, I bought it in California, so I'm from Southern California. I don't live there anymore, but I bought it there, but it come from Maine.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
So that car's all over.
Yeah, and all four the two rear quarter panels, the two front fenders were rusted out. But one of the cool things is those things are relatively easy to work on. So I was able to replace those panels pretty easily. Now I know the Mustang guys, hardcore Mustang guys that want to keep everything original probably cringe when they hear that.
But like I'm a Mustang guy, but at the same time, like I like to keep things factory. So like if you're replacing parts, I mean you're making it better than what it was, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they make remakes of those panels. So
that's true on that one. What other kind of cars have you been working on, or is it just the Mustang?
No, I've got a 2003 Toyota Land Cruiser, so about a 20-year-old Land Cruiser, 100 series. I don't know if you guys know much about those, but I think they're super cool, super reliable.
I know a little bit about it. Jeremy is more of an off-road guy.
Yeah, so that is actually one of the vehicles I've been looking at for my Alaska rig. It's on the short list.
Yeah, I love it, man. They're super reliable. They're relatively easy to work on. Parts are really readily available. They're super roomy and comfy and luxurious. They're a great car. I love that thing. That's actually my daily driver, to be honest with you.
Awesome. Is that one of the, kind of a car that you could just take a wrench, some duct tape, and a hammer and make it go anywhere?
I think so. And whether you're in like the middle of nowhere Alaska or the middle of nowhere Costa Rica, you can pull up to an auto parts store and chances are they've got what you need.
Yeah, that's so epic. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, it really hurts that you said 20 years old in 2003. That's a hard pill to swallow, isn't it?
Tell me about it, man. I'm 39. I'll be 40 this year. So yeah, that is hard to swallow, man. In 2003 I was in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still feel like the young guy in this conversation.
In 03 I had a 3-year-old kid.
Yeah, and
oh wow, okay. Yeah, you are the old dude.
Yeah, in 03 I was what, in 3rd grade? I don't know. Yeah, something like that.
Really?
Nice.
I don't know.
Are you that young?
I don't know. I went to high school in 2005, so no, I guess I'd be in 6th grade then.
Okay, let's quit dating ourselves.
Anyway. Yeah.
I don't want to know how old I am.
Okay, so a Mustang and a Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so those are the two.
Yeah, and then we've got a Tahoe as well. My wife drives a 2021 Tahoe, which I like that as well. At first I was not a big fan of the Tahoe, but it's pretty good at getting the family from point A to point B.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about them. I've got a little brother who's got like a 2022, and he just raves about that truck.
Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah. So I got to know. So since you've been working with Milwaukee, how big would you say your tool collection is? And has that reflected your car projects, like working on them?
Yeah, it's big. I mean, I had plenty of tools before I worked for Milwaukee, but I've been here 16 years, and I've slowly accumulated a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
a lot of good stuff. Some stuff I don't use as often as I should, but yeah, I've got a couple of nice, rolling tool chests and a lot of cordless tools. A lot of it, I was part of the development process, which is really cool. And then some stuff that we make that I did not have any part in making. That's also super handy.
Yeah. That's so epic. Like that must be an amazing accomplishment, feeling like the tools that you're using on a daily basis, like you were involved with designing and putting a hand in its creation.
It's the best part of the job.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe it's not the best. It's really cool to use a tool that you developed. It's much cooler. I know this is going to sound cliche as hell. It's actually much cooler to talk to people like yourselves at SEMA or people that wrench every single day, technicians.
Yeah.
That come up to you and say, hey, such and such a tool changed the way I work. Hey, this is the most badass tool I've ever used. That is actually the coolest part of the job.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I will also tell you the flip side of that is not good. Sometimes we screw stuff up. It's infrequent, but sometimes we screw stuff up. And every once in a while, I'll have somebody come up to me, get in my face, and tell me how bad I screwed something up, and that doesn't feel very good.
Is there one instance that you could recall that happened with?
There's a handful, man. There's a handful of mistakes we made. Some are, were made on a small scale. Others were made on a large scale. Mm-hmm. What I've learned is that you're not gonna get 100% of everything right.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is that you recognize when you screw something up and you make it right. Mm-hmm. Especially at the scale we're operating at. Like if you don't recognize it and make it right quickly, like it gets away from you.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to ask is how many tools do you guys make on a daily basis? Like in production, like by the end of the production, is it what, like 1,000 tools a day? Are we talking 10,000 tools a day?
Oh man. Across all our facilities.
Yeah.
I don't know the number off the top of my head. I can tell you it's north of 100,000 tools a day.
Wow.
That's epic.
That's way more than I thought. And between power tools and stuff, I was looking online. It said you guys have a catalog of over 400 or 500 different tools between the M18 and M12 just alone.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah, it is wild to see how big. We call them systems, the M12 system of tools, the M18 system. It is wild to think of how big those systems have gotten in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah.
And I can tell you I don't want to say never. We didn't imagine, let's say when we started this in 2008, how big these systems would get and how broad they would get in terms of the tools that we offer.
Did it just how did it become that big? Was it just like slowly guys have ideas for a couple tools and it started ramping up from there, or was customers coming to you and say, "Hey, we need this and this and this"? Like what made it from this is a tool company to a massive international company?
Yeah, a number of things. Mm-hmm. I'd say in the early days, say the first couple years, we were a pretty small company and we were not leaders at what we did. Mm-hmm. We had some pretty formidable competitors in the construction trades. So, we obviously got our start in construction, and we still are highly focused on construction. We got our start there, and we had some really good competitors. And in the early days, we just said, hey, we need to have a focused strategy. We need to make sure we focus on improving productivity and safety of these core construction end users that we care about and that care about us as a brand. Mm-hmm. And we need, if we focus on making them more productive and safer, they will flock to our product. And again, the first few years they did that. And we proved that strategy would work. And as time went on, we identified opportunities to expand. Mm-hmm. And, you expand in these adjacent categories that make sense. I'll just give you some examples. We started with drills and impacts and screwdrivers, general purpose products that are used by a wide variety of people. And then, the electrician asks you for a really compact bandsaw for cutting conduit for work they do every day. And then the plumber asks you for something that is specific to their trade. And so we start expanding into these product categories that make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then you wake up one day and you realize you've expanded into 100 adjacent categories because the users you care about and you spend time with on a daily basis doing research tell you, if you make this product, I can be a hell of a lot more productive and work safer. And you end up with 400 or 500 tools in your catalog.
Yeah.
You don't think about it, right? I'm in the electronics trade and I've done a lot of construction around the house, right? So when I think Milwaukee, I'm looking at the construction tools or, electronic ratchets or something like that, right? You don't think about the other trades. Mm-hmm. So when you start adding those other trades, plumbers, electricians, and all that, you're like, holy crap. That number, what'd you say? It was 1,000 battery operated tools?
No, we don't have that many. We're approaching about 500 battery operated
even
tools.
500. If you just think about the drills and stuff like that people use on a daily basis, you don't think about the other stuff.
I think the best representation was when we were at SEMA, was just the wall of tools literally on a bolted to the wall of the different things you guys cover. It was mind blowing.
Yeah, that you bring up an interesting point. I think there's very few people that understand the size and scale of what we do. And I don't say that like from an arrogant place. It's just you talk to an electrician or you talk to a plumber or a distributor that works and calls on those specific trades. They really only see what we do and make for the trade that they're focused on, and they don't understand the rest of what we do. The cool thing about Milwaukee, though, is we've largely verticalized our teams. And when I say verticalized, I mean our product development teams are largely focused on a specific vertical. So, for example, we have an electrical-focused team. We have an automotive-focused team. We have a plumbing-focused team. And the reason we do that is we don't want to be at a place where we're having to figure out, well, do we make a ratchet for the automotive trade, or do we make, a copper tubing cutter for the plumbing trade? We let those teams figure that out based on their expertise, so that we're not, having competing priorities, if that makes sense.
And so with that, is it you just send your team out and do more research, or do you give them tasks, be like, hey, here's a car to rebuild, or, talk to some of the people in trade? Like, how do they get their research back to know what, the field people need?
Yeah, I mean, we get it from a lot of different places, but the primary way that we develop our product roadmap is through in-field research.
Okay.
And our product managers, and we have a design research team, they go into the field, and most of the time they're a fly on the wall. So let's just, since we're on an automotive podcast, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
They'll go into 10 garages or 20 garages across the country. They'll go into a garage where somebody's, focused on tires in Wisconsin. They'll go into a garage where somebody's focused on suspension in Texas. They'll go into a garage where somebody's doing engine work in California, whatever. They're a fly on the wall, and they're looking at patterns of work. They're looking for opportunities for productivity improvement. They're looking for what solutions are used, or what tools are used, and how to make them better. And then we have a really robust process to bring all that research back and help determine what products should we put on our roadmap and invest in to make.
Okay. Are we allowed to dive in on how that process works? Like, once you guys get your research back on tool, like, what's the process of creating a tool from there? Say, like, okay, we decided a long wrench impact is needed. Like, what would Milwaukee go from there once they have that idea?
Yeah. So you'd get a basket of ideas, and you use several different criteria to weigh prioritization. A lot of it honestly ties back to, like, first thing, have we already agreed that that's a priority end user vertical that we want to focus on? Usually that's the answer to that's a given yes. The second really important thing is there actually an opportunity for innovation here, or is this just going to be like a Me Too product? And then from there we start, looking at, some of the financial metrics to make sure that we're not just going to make this product, spend several $1 million, and only sell, a couple of units. So, we've got some of the more business focused metrics in there as well.
Yeah. Out of those, what do you think is the most challenging part to get over first? Is it the economics and be like, hey, scale it, or is it the gaining all in, seeing how many people would actually use this tool?
Where we spend most of our time is A, is this a priority vertical? And B, is there actually an opportunity for us to innovate and improve productivity and safety? And a lot of times, if the answer to that is yes, the financials become less and less important.
Okay, that's good to know. Is it hard to choose once you get to that point, then if it becomes a battery plug-in, or like just a plug in the wall, and what kind of battery would you go from there? Like, I take it it's easier to use a bigger battery, but the M12 is also a very alluring design, going with a lighter weight and smaller compact design. Yeah.
Well, the first question you asked, the easiest one to answer, do you make any tools that plug into the wall, or do you still spend development resources? We haven't spent development resources on tools that plug into the wall for probably about 15 years.
Oh, and that was
because we knew cordless was going to be the future 15 years ago. So we really don't spend a lot of time on AC powered tools anymore.
Okay, that explains that. That was one thing I was going to ask why that wasn't. They went, because I have a Milwaukee plug-in Sawzall, but it's also 20 something years old. Just it's been in our shop forever. So,
Yeah. We still sell stuff like that. We still sell some corded AC powered Sawzalls, but we're not developing new ones. We're not developing new corded circular saws or anything. So that was the first question. The second one, you start to get into understanding the usage patterns of the tool. So you said, hey, how do you choose between an M12 battery, an M18 battery, an MX fuel battery?
Yeah.
The first thing we look at is what are the performance demands of the product? Meaning how much power is required to complete the application. How many, when I say application, I mean the task. How many of those tasks or cuts or holes do you need to drill back to back? Because then you'll start looking at your runtime needs. You start looking at things like ergonomics and the space that the product needs to be used in, and is it used overhead, and should it be lightweight? You start balancing these performance and ergonomics needs, and it actually becomes pretty clear, 90% of the time, does this thing belong on the M12 smaller platform, the M18 platform, or in some cases the bigger MX platform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it was. I figured it was mainly due to voltage going through there, but that makes more sense on that one.
Voltage is a factor, but that still comes back to how much power is required and how much runtime do you need.
So how long does it take then once you get from that stage to a prototype stage?
It varies, man.
Mm-hmm.
We can spin up prototypes pretty quickly. In fact, we spin up non-functioning prototypes just to get an idea of form factor, size. We can spin non-functioning units up really quickly. Sometimes overnight with 3D printers and some of the other technology we have. Mm-hmm. When you start talking about functioning prototypes, depending on complexity, it takes us a couple months. But that said, if we need to cobble together something quickly that functions to give us, to get us to the field to get some feedback, we can do it pretty quick in a week or two.
Okay. Does that include if you say it's part of a different system, like a pack out system or something like that, or does that take more time to integrate that?
Since pack out, largely those products don't have any electronics or anything. Those are actually relatively simple to get. A prototype to look at size and form factor.
Pack out, I haven't used a heck of a lot yet, but my brother-in-law, he's heavy into that, and he's telling me it's one of the greatest things to have because he can have all his tools ready to go in his truck, everything stacked up. So
the pack out is mostly for storage, right?
Yeah, but they have new adaptations that you can put onto it. One of them was light sources and radios, correct, Cole?
Yeah. Pack out's primarily a storage system, but we've got lights, we've got radios, we have vacuums that all connect to the pack out products. And, we're getting into, garage and workshop, organization as well.
Yeah. How did the pack out system come to be? Did someone just come to you guys and say, hey, this is a great idea? Or was this part of your guys' research group? And because that's a huge system that you guys now include in Milwaukee.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty cool story how it came to be. We were not in storage at all. We didn't make storage products. Mm-hmm. Really, the only storage solutions we made were just to store our tools when we shipped them from our factory. But particularly on the construction trade side, for years, we had end users complaining to us about how fragile, some of the storage solutions were that they were using.
Oh, really?
And how they couldn't store all the tools that they wanted to store, and there was no flexibility in the way that their job boxes were configured. Mm-hmm. And for years, I wouldn't say we ignored them, but we weren't ready. We needed to focus on the businesses that we were already in, the power tools and power tool accessories, and we were just getting into to hand tools, because our hand tool business just started in 2010.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say we ignored them. We just kind of shelved it. We said, like, we know that's an opportunity, but we are not ready. We don't want to distract our teams right now. And so we shelved that. We banked all that. And then a group of folks finally said, hey, like, we need to go do more research on this. We should actually focus on this. So we set out a product management team and a design research team, and they spent months, out in the field, just, again, being a fly in the wall, looking to see how storage systems were being utilized to identify pain points and opportunities. And they came back and they said, hey, here's some opportunities. And the rest is history. But I will tell you, I can honestly tell you, nobody knew how big that was going to get, how quickly it got there as well. It's been a monster success. And it just goes to show you how much opportunity was out there and how much, how frustrating those prior solutions were before PackOut was introduced.
Yeah.
So just from us, I'm in the semiconductor industry as a trade. And last year, we decided to invest in some of those Milwaukee PackOut sets. And they have been an absolute game changer as far as, being able to get all the tools that we actually need into that fab environment so we can work on a piece of equipment successfully. So
great to hear.
Yeah. So just from, the consumer standpoint, I've been impressed with the Milwaukee PackOut stuff so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love to hear that, man.
How do you guys test your durability to that? Because you were talking about, like, the storage compartments that people were using was pretty fragile.
Yeah, I mean, so that the team that went out and did that research identified that one of the major pain points was durability.
Yeah.
And they looked at the reasons for failure, and sometimes the reason is a really high drop off the back of a pickup truck, with 100 pounds of goods in it. Sometimes that's just 100 consecutive drops from 6 inches ends up fatiguing a part and causes failure. So the team goes and really understands, how are those products used, what types of environments, and then we come back and we replicate the usage in the field in our lab, and we create, fixtures in some cases. Sometimes we do manual testing with actual human beings to replicate what's actually going on in the field.
So just a bunch of pickup trucks and knocking them off every 5 minutes.
Well, we might not bring in like 100 pickup trucks, but we might build a fixture that sets, that PackOut. I don't know how far a pickup truck bed. I guess it depends on what part of the country you're in, but I don't know if it's 3 feet off the ground or it's 6 feet off the ground, depending on how lifted the truck is. But we'll build fixtures and sometimes a human or a piece of machinery will just push that piece of PackOut off that thing, 100 times or 100,000 times, depending on what we deem necessary.
Yeah. So with the PackOut being so modular, how did you guys get into the battery system being so modular? Because, like, the M18, the M12, and the MX, it's nuts how those batteries can fit over so many range of tools.
Yeah, I think if you go back to the early days of those systems, or before we even introduced them, we said, hey, one of the non-negotiables on these systems is that the products have to be compatible. No matter if somebody buys a tool or a battery in year 1 or year 10, there has to be compatibility. And the reason we said that is because if you look at the investment that the end user makes, the consumer makes, over the course of a couple of years, it's substantial, depending on what user you're talking about. They're well into the thousands of dollars range, because that's what a lot of users use to make a living, right? So
no doubt.
When we looked at some of the tool companies at the time that were making switches and in compatibility, so they were making some of their older batteries obsolete, man, there was a lot of really unhappy end users or consumers. And so we said, hey, like we have to be forward thinking in our development here so that when we get 10 or 15 years down the road, we're not forced to basically say goodbye to these platforms, because we know that that's going to piss off our end customers.
Yeah.
And it's going to cause them to possibly switch.
That is interesting that you say that, because I did switch from one company to another because of that same thing. And I don't want to bag on them, but
yeah, that's fine.
It was a thing.
Well, that's super common. It's very common.
Yeah.
It puts a sour taste in the mouth of the end user for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, I use my stuff at home, my drills and impacts and stuff like that. I use them often, and I don't expect the tool to die, often. But, if I keep one 15, 20 years, I'd say that was pretty good. And I've had a couple that I've had to replace batteries for, and you go back and you can't get them anymore.
Yeah, that's the absolute worst.
And then I ended up switching to another brand, and I'm not looking forward to my first battery dying, because batteries are always the expensive part. And, if I go and have to replace another one for that, well, I'm not going to be very happy.
For sure.
Now, in the construction trade or in an actual trade, I would expect that the tools once in a while wear out, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, depending on what trade and which tools you're talking about, a lot of these tools are used several hours a day or half a day for 240 working days a year, and they get worn out for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they
wear out for sure.
Do you make rebuild kits for some of those?
We do offer service parts for many of our tools, or for all of our tools. But we like to think we have the strongest warranty
Nice.
in our industry, and we like to think we make that as seamless as possible for the end user. So most of our tools carry a 5-year warranty. There are exceptions. But most of our tools carry a 5-year warranty, and I would say that warranty, we unless a tool is like very obviously worn out,
like in a flamethrower kind of accident.
Yeah, or like has been abused, like run over by a pickup or a forklift.
Yeah,
like we typically take care of the customer, and it's pretty easy to send us that tool. We pay for the shipping both ways. So it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
That's
I say that because I say that, and there's probably some people that are going to listen to this and go, yeah, but that one time you didn't honor mine, or yeah, it's a real big pain in the butt for me. I realize that we have opportunity for improvement, but
yeah,
we like to think we make it as seamless as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sold. I'm throwing all my electronic stuff away and going and buying new tomorrow.
I'm surprised you haven't, Jeremy.
Yeah.
I already started switching. I'm not going to say the name brand, but I have another tool brand at my shop that I typically use with the truck that comes around every week and taking my money. And I've been switching over to a Milwaukee brand in the last few years.
Yes, you have.
Yeah.
Love to hear it.
Yeah.
You know what my favorite tool, Milwaukee tool he has is?
What's that?
Is the M18 compressor for airing up your tires.
That one's super handy.
The little handheld one. That thing's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things are super handy.
That's one of the more tools that we see at the track more often than not is the little Milwaukee compressors around there for people filling up their tires and getting them all ready for when we're getting ready for on track.
Yeah, for sure.
But also it's super nice in the winter because you can keep it in your truck, have a battery ready to go, and if it starts snowing, deflate the tire a little bit and get some more traction.
That's right. Or if you're going off-roading or whatever, you want to air down and then you got to air back up when you get back on pavement.
Yeah, exactly. So I was going to ask so if you guys have been thinking ahead for the M18 and the M12 so that way people wouldn't have to buy newer stuff, would you consider those future-proof then or
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
Okay. So how
100%.
How is that done then? Like say battery technology is leaps and bounds, say another 20 years from now, is just the same integration system, the same, just, bigger capacity then? Or how do you say that, make them future proof?
We have a really large team of R&D folks focused on batteries.
Okay.
Across the disciplines that matter, whether it's excuse me, cell chemistry, the construction of the battery pack. Mm-hmm. We've got a team of R&D folks focused on that, and we're making sure that we're not just focused on like what technologies are emerging in the next 1 to 3 years, but beyond. And one of the key non-negotiables for those development teams is, hey, no matter which technology that we're going to assess, mm-hmm. it has to be compatible with our existing systems.
Has any technology recently that been influencing Milwaukee at all, such as like AI possibly being incorporated somehow in your tools, or 3D printing, where now like someone could buy a 3D printer and make that?
Yeah, so let's tackle the first one. We have a couple products today that already utilize machine learning.
Oh, cool! I didn't know that.
Yeah, we introduced the first one in 2022. So before you or I or anybody else knew what the hell ChatGPT was, because that obviously blew up and like made everybody aware of it. Yeah. We were working in like 2020, 2021 on a machine learning powered product that we introduced in the front half of 22, and then we introduced a couple more in 2023, and we have a lot more in the pipeline. So yes, we are using machine learning in our products for sure.
That's so epic.
It's a cool piece of technology for sure.
Yeah. And in terms of going back to future proofing, one thing I didn't know about is the MX Fuel batteries. I didn't learn about that till this week. I saw that's a new kind of product you guys have been launching. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, MX Fuel. I don't know if have you seen those batteries before?
I not in person yet.
Yeah, they're large. They're about don't quote me, 4 or 5 times larger than our M18 batteries.
Oh wow, okay.
So they are for what we call light equipment. So M18, for the automotive space is really meant to replace the hose and the compressor, so to speak. For your big impact wrenches and your grinders and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. MX Fuel right now is primarily focused on the construction trades, and it's focused on equipment. So think like 12 and 14-inch cutoff saws that you'd use to cut concrete or big pieces of steel.
Yeah.
Think of big, jackhammers, big core drills, products like that you can't get there on an 18-volt battery.
Yeah.
So that MX system is not there to compete with M18. It's actually there to complement it really well as the power and runtime demands go up in a big way.
Okay. So
are those really 72 volts?
Yeah.
Oh.
So with the M12 and the M18 and the MX system, do you think that covers for whatever we could be seeing coming, from here on out? Or is there a possibility of, say, like an M24 that could be at some foreseeable future coming through?
I'm not going to intentionally be coy here. I can tell you, I'll answer you very directly in one part of your question.
Okay.
I don't think you're going to see, an M24 or an M28 mm-hmm. Or M36. Like that to us doesn't make sense. Now we make some products that are kind of tweeners so that they use the 18-volt batteries.
Yeah.
So we make a blower and a couple blowers and some other products that utilize a couple 18-volt batteries. If you're asking me forever and ever and ever into the future, if we're only going to have M12, M18, MX,
yeah, I
think it would be foolish for me to say, yep, that's all we're ever going to have. Mm-hmm. If we find that we need something bigger than MX,
we'll put more MXs together.
Yeah, we'll spend the time. We'll spend the time and the energy to do what's right to get the product right.
Yeah,
dude, 2 of those are going to send a car.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah,
potentially Milwaukee car coming to you.
I'm over here flabbergasted. 72 volts is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm impressed.
So I got to know. So with a coffee maker, what kind of battery would that require?
You asked me about this at SEMA, right?
I did.
Isn't that how you open the conversation?
That is
you were like, "Hey, dude.
Yep.
Hey, dude, why don't you make a coffee maker?" And I'm like, "Whoa, who are you?" Nice to meet you. I'm Cole.
Yep.
This is funny. This is super funny, man. We've been asked to make a coffee maker for like 20 years, 15 years.
Oh, I bet. All our listeners, we keep getting emails about that. Like, because I've talked a few times on the show. Like, yeah, that's a great idea. Why aren't they making one?
Yeah. We looked at it, and I think I told you this at SEMA.
Yeah.
We looked at it for a couple years,
Mm-hmm.
and what we found when we looked at it was you can only make like a really small cup of coffee before you drain the batteries.
Okay.
Now, admittedly, the power and runtime of our batteries has changed a lot since we came to that conclusion.
Yeah.
But here's the types of things that we bump up against when we look at roadmap prioritization and where we want to spend money on development resources.
Okay.
And I'm not saying this is exactly the answer, but I think this is some of the calculus, so to speak, that we do.
Mm-hmm.
We look at that and go, okay, you can make 12 or 18 ounces of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
How valuable is that versus when you leave the house in the morning, pouring 12 or 18 ounces of coffee into your pack-out tumbler or mug,
Mm-hmm.
and that's still hot at noon when you need it, right? And I'm not saying like that's necessarily the answer.
Yeah.
It's maybe not the answer you're looking for, but when we start saying like, should we all go spend resources to go make that coffee maker? Mm-hmm. When there's other solutions that the user can utilize, mm-hmm. versus should we go make the new M12 Fuel random orbit sander for the paint and body professional that's only ever used a pneumatic powered 6-inch sander? Mm-hmm. I mean, I know where we're going to spend our time. We're going to spend our time on that 6-inch sander.
Yeah.
Now hold on. I'm going to sell this to you.
Okay, I'm listening.
I know Grant talked to you about it at SEMA.
Oh, I thought it was a good pitch.
It was a pretty good pitch. Now, we have hundreds of friends that are all race car enthusiasts. Mm-hmm. And when we go out to our track in Shelton, you have to fire up a generator to make power. If I had a Milwaukee coffee maker, even if I had to use 2 batteries to make, we'll say 24 ounces of coffee, I would make sure those were charged up in the morning or by morning so I could just do that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It sounds like we should make a coffee maker.
Yes.
we and Grant's right. We really have had probably a dozen people.
Oh, we've had more than that.
Ask what the progress was on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, what do you know?
Yeah.
What do you know?
Yeah. Because like imagine going to a big brand store and just sitting there on their holidays and be like, wow, this would be great for Dad. And then I could use this later on. And, oh, that's awesome because we're in the shop. Just click it and great, start to go,
Yeah.
And most people think you have to get to the boiling point to make coffee. I think you can actually make a good cup of coffee at a much lower temperature.
Mm-hmm.
I love a good cup of coffee, but I'm not qualified to speak on whether or not it needs to get to the boiling point or not.
Yeah.
But hey, noted. It sounds like there's another 100 people that want us to make a coffee maker. We should probably make a coffee maker.
Yeah, I would at least recommend making a prototype and then seeing how that goes from there.
Yeah, and then sending it to
Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, we'll test that. We'll give a full research and documented report on how that goes.
I knew where that was going. Okay, noted.
I will be the first one to buy one if it comes out.
No. I think second because you're guaranteed I'll be in line.
I'll be one of the first 10 to buy one.
Nice.
Nice. But that does bring up a question. If someone does have a tool design, how, other than running into someone at SEMA, what's the best way to let Milwaukee know, hey, I got an idea. This is something. Could you guys possibly make this or look into this?
Yeah, we get. You may or may not be surprised. Mm-hmm. We get a lot of requests. We get a lot of people reaching out to us and telling us, hey, you should make this thing. And there's many different ways. You can call 1-800-SAWDUST. I know you're like, what the hell is 1-800-SAWDUST? That's one of our one of the ways to get into contact with us. You can go on our website and there's a contact us button. You can reach out to us. But most of the ways that we hear from people is, they interact with one of our people, somebody at a show like SEMA, somebody on a tool truck, somebody at a tool store where they're selling tools, or a friend. We get a lot of requests from a lot of different places.
Have you had any that like stuck out to you recently that like, oh, I heard about that, we should possibly look into that, other than the coffee maker?
Yeah. We've got a lot of great ideas that are in the hopper, and a lot of them are coming from professional end users, and they're on our roadmap. The one I just gave you guys the example of the 6-inch random orbit sander. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that product or body work, but
I think I saw that at SEMA a little bit.
Yeah, a couple years ago, we had body technicians telling us like, hey, I love this impact wrench, but I'm really tired of dragging this hose around and this air tool around. I've been using the same air tool for 15 years. Can you guys make one of these? And we're like, yeah, I think we can. And so we did some research on it, did some development, and we said, hey, we can make this work on a battery. And not only can we make it work on a battery, we can make it work on a 12-volt battery, which people still think is crazy. Why didn't you run it on an 18? But we put it on the 12-volt system, and it gets plenty of runtime, has plenty of power, and keeps the size and the weight down. So, that's the latest example I'll give you that we ended up bringing to life. Like, we didn't just come up with that out of thin air. We came up with that because professional collision repair technicians told us, you need to make this thing. Yeah.
So once you guys decide to make a tool and you listen to and someone submitted an idea and you go through prototyping, how do you guys at all then give examples, like a beta test to certain customers, have them test in the field and see if it actually does work, and then they give you input?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I mean, before we cut tooling, before we go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars in tooling, we absolutely take functioning prototypes to the field to make sure it does what we think it's going to do and the user's happy with it, for sure. And then once we've done that, once we validated it, cut the tooling, went through the development, we've got several builds before we get to production, where we're validating a lot of units, hundreds of units with end users to make sure that as we get through the development process, the product still meets their needs and there's no red flags. And that's a really, really, really important step in our process, because we catch things. We catch things we need to fix. We catch things we need to address.
Yeah, no doubt. I bet you a lot of people get excited. They're like, what? We get to test this out? That's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. And, I'll tell you, one of the problems with that is they are so excited they get to test it out. They actually sometimes overlook the things we need to fix. They're just like, oh, I'm just so happy that you gave this to me, and I can't believe it runs on a battery. And we're like, great, but man, I need you to actually use it and be really honest with me. And if you tell me it's not, the whole objective here is for you to tell me what's not right so I can go fix it before I put it into production.
So you guys want brutal honesty when the tool's out there.
We have to have brutal honesty, or else we're going to miss something. And I can tell you, when you go from 100 units to 100,000, I'm just using round numbers, to 100,000 units, you're going to hear really quick what's screwed up about the product once it's in the hands of 100,000 people.
So with that being said, then, have you had to make some tough calls then when you're designing some products and be like, okay, they said this is good or this is bad on this one, we need to do this to it, or
all the time.
Yeah,
it happens all the time. In fact, if it doesn't happen on a product, we fear we've missed something. Like if we get to the prototype stage and we're field testing and the feedback's coming back, it's perfect, you don't need to change anything, we're super skeptical of that.
Have you ever had a product where you had to stop at the 11th hour, be like, we just caught a major flaw with this product?
Yep. You don't like You don't like when that happens, but it happens. And that's where you have to make the tough call. You've got to make the decision. Do I put it into the market knowing something's not right? Or do I make the really hard call, even though you might have a lot of money invested in that design and you need to trash it? You need to trash it or trash part of it and redesign and retool. And I'd like to think we in our culture, we make the right call and we put things on pause because it's the right thing for our brand and for our users.
That's good. That's good that you guys do that. Because most people think it's just down to the dollar amount and be like, nah, send it out, good enough. If it breaks, it's whatever.
Yeah. I mean, yes, yeah, that definitely can creep in to big corporations for sure.
Yeah.
We try to not have that happen. I can tell you we've 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, we get that right. But every once in a while we screw something up. And like I mentioned earlier, it's what happens once you realize you screwed up that really matters.
What about when you guys go back and refresh a tool design? Because just say the impact gun I've got, 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, amazing. But I know Milwaukee's got now a 1,600 foot-pound. How often do you guys go back and be like, okay, this tool's been in so many years, it's time we put some more technology and let's have it be a better tool?
Yeah, it depends on a variety of factors, and I know I'm answering every question with that, but hopefully you're getting some insight into how we think and prioritize and develop product versus looking at me going, why don't you just answer me straight?
Yeah.
The answer is it depends. And it depends on, first and foremost, does that current generation of that product still meet the user's need or not? Have their needs evolved? Second thing is, has the technology improved since we first developed that unit to where you can make a meaningful improvement to the end product? Third thing is strategically, how critical is that product to the work that end user does? Meaning, how often are they using it? If they're using it for a minute a day and I can improve productivity by 20%, that's not that much. But if they're using it for 3 hours a day and it's their primary tool and I can improve their productivity by 20%, that's a lot.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that factors in. And what I'll tell you is common tools like impact wrenches and ratchets and grinders and things that are used in the garage daily, the average lifespan on those, when I say lifespan, I mean the generation of product in the market, is say 4 to 6 years.
Okay.
Before we go make another generation, and that's based on those factors I just mentioned.
Yeah, so the public doesn't have to worry about it kind of going the way of the iPhone, where it's it's the next year, we need the latest and greatest one. No,
we're not going to give you a new M18 fuel high torque impact wrench once a year and ask you to upgrade every single year.
Yeah.
In fact, I think the last one was in the market. Was in the market almost 7 years.
Oh wow. Okay. Is it pretty difficult if you guys have to when you get a new technology or new material to get it approved by the company to use it, whether it's a new type of plastic or advancement in processor or whatever?
No, it's depending on the technology, but a new plastic or a new process. We typically have a set of tests that material needs to be run through. Okay. And if we get enough units through that test and they pass, and we run it through several different builds all the way up to production. If it passes, we'll use it.
I would assume your vendors probably change things once in a while, and you don't have a choice as to whether you're replacing something or not, right?
Yeah, and in that case, we want them to notify us. We have really strong suppliers and strong relationships, and we want them to notify us. And if they do change a part or change a process, that's a trigger to us to rerun testing and do incoming quality control on another level to our factory to make sure that there's nothing that we miss there.
Yeah. And I would assume it's that conversation's more like, hey, we made an upgrade to this component. You know, it meets all of your old specifications, but now it does this and this better.
Yeah. Yeah, but we validate all that.
Yeah.
I mean, we validate all that.
I got to know,
For sure.
speaking of factories, like, is your factory tools just made of tools to make tools? Like,
What do you mean?
like, so, like, you guys are making tools, but, like, is there ever a point where you don't have a tool that you need to make a tool? So do you have to build a tool to make that tool? To make a tool?
Now I understand your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have yes. The simple answer to your question is absolutely yes. Yeah, we do, and we've got an in-house team that that makes manufacturing equipment, and we also leverage suppliers that make manufacturing tools, because we don't, we make portable tools.
Yeah.
We don't make manufacturing tools.
Yeah. Yep. That makes sense on that one. I gotta know, like, because you guys are manufacturing tools. Well, how did you guys get into apparel? Like, I know originally you said safety, and I know that was part of it, but, like, the heated jackets, and I know you guys are launching now Milwaukee footwear. Like, where did all that come from?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how deep we want to go on that.
As deep as you want.
2010, yeah, in 2010, we had, like, I don't know, less than 10 tools on the M12 system.
Yeah.
And there was a heated garment company, or a company that made garments out there, that took a run at making heated garments. Mm-hmm. And we thought that was a pretty damn cool idea. Mm-hmm. And we knew they were doing it on 12 volts. And we're like, we know we can do that. We can do that better than them, because we know battery technology better, and electronics better than this garment company. Mm-hmm. And we know our end users that are working on job sites or in the garage that's not heated are freaking cold. Mm-hmm. We should make a jacket. So we made a jacket, and we sold like 5,000 pieces, which sounds like a lot, but it's not. Mm-hmm. There's not that many jackets, but we were stoked. Okay. And that's how it got started. It kind of started as like a little bit, kind of like a hobby little business. But over time, we realized that there weren't, like, really good job site apparel companies out there. And this is many, many, many years ago. Yeah. We thought there was a big opportunity. So we sent a research team out and developed an R&D team to understand the pain points with current workwear. And we started, making products one by one. Started with those jackets, and it took off from there.
Nice. Well, if it is focused on construction, one thing I got to ask, and it's part of the questions we have on here, was I didn't notice on your guys' site that Milwaukee makes custom jackets. And if you guys are targeting towards construction, was that not an opportunity? My mind's blanking. Market that you guys could be tapping into. So, like, say a giant construction company and all their employees have a Milwaukee bracket labeled as, I don't know, Hudson Construction, let's just say. I don't know, made up a name. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, we do enable embroidery on most of our jackets.
Oh, really?
And so a lot of construction companies have adopted our garments, and a lot of them are giving them to employees as gifts, and they put their logo on them, like holiday gifts and stuff like that. And so that's something that is already being done.
I had no idea. Okay, I'm literally, tomorrow I'm going to our company telling about that, and we're getting Untitled Car Project heated stuff, right, Jeremy? Oh, I'm so excited now that I know that's an option.
Nice.
Yeah, I wear a lot of heated jackets and a lot of Milwaukee sweatshirts, and everywhere I go, everyone always asks me, what's with the red light? And I'm like, oh, let me tell you about this fantastic product I've got on me.
He wears it all the time.
It's literally my sweatshirt's right next to me right now.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love to hear that.
Yeah. What about the footwear? That's been new. It says coming soon on your guys' website.
Yeah. This is like brand new, like in the last couple months. Mm-hmm. I actually don't even have any of the boots yet, but yeah, we identified an opportunity to get into footwear. So we're hoping that it goes well.
Mm. Are you allowed to say about any technology that could possibly be in those boots, or is it more about fashion or safety on them?
It's mostly about safety and comfort.
Okay.
it's mostly about safety and comfort. And I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know the specific technology details, so I couldn't BS my way through that.
Okay.
They're not heated.
No,
That'd be so nice.
no, they're not heated.
I saw the heated gloves. I was like, maybe they have the smaller batteries that go in there and heat the boots.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely gonna have to get a pair of those and try those ones out.
Yeah, me too. You and me both.
Yeah. I wear a size 10.5, just a heads up.
Send me your address.
All right. So, what switching back things, because we talked about the construction industry, what about the automotive industry? Like, what has Milwaukee, do you think they've been making leaps and strides in that field for you guys' tools?
Yeah, let's talk about that. I have been talking too much about the construction trades because we've been talking a lot about our origin.
Oh, it's all good. We love construction. I'm in construction. I know a lot of our listeners are too.
Yeah, let's talk automotive. So, look, we had a lot of automotive technicians adopt a lot of our tools that we developed for the construction trades, and I'm talking about 15 plus years ago. Mm-hmm. And we identified like, hey, this is a really big opportunity. These guys and gals are using hoses and compressors. The tool companies, and again, I'm talking 10 or 15 years or 15 plus years ago, the tool companies that are making tools are focused on air tools. This is a prime opportunity. Mm-hmm. So we put a little team together. We said, all right, let's figure out what opportunities are and let's prioritize them. And so we started chipping away, man. We started making some impact wrenches, not for construction, but for automotive. We started making ratchets, not for construction, but for automotive. And those early days, we were highly successful because the users were quicker to ditch that hose than we ever could have imagined.
Oh, I know. I did once I got had the ability to go battery.
Yeah, exactly. And we started investing more. We said, okay, we're not just going to make one product a year. We're going to make 2 or 3. And over time, we said, hey, we've got to continue to invest. And so we started to venture out beyond just those fastening tools, those wrenches and those ratchets. And we started developing things like the die grinders, the sanders, polishers. And right now, it is a focused trade. There's no doubt about it. We've got a lot of people focused on making tools and marketing tools to that automotive technician.
Yeah. Could we see possibly in the future some MX battery powered stuff like a lift of any kind, or I don't know, a bigger, like say people that are using air compressor, like for compressed air, an air compressor then built for that around the MX?
Yeah, the 2 spaces you're talking about right now, we are highly interested in. And I can't say much more than that, but they are on our radar and we are highly interested in those spaces.
That's good to know. Like just that alone, I know like that gets me excited and interested,
Yep, for sure. Yeah, we're very focused in automotive, and we're focused beyond just those, core portable power tools for sure.
Was the power tool I'm trying to see, it's the long reach extended one with the pass through sockets. You know what I'm talking about? It's with the M12.
Yeah, the Insider. Yep. Yeah, we call it the Insider.
Was that made for the automotive, or how did that? Because that's a very interesting product in my opinion.
It is absolutely made for the automotive industry.
Okay.
It is not made for the construction trades. I mean, you can use it for that, but we looked at it and said, hey, there's a lot of tight spaces, particularly under the hood of the vehicle. Mm-hmm. Where the user is having to switch from that battery-powered ratchet with a standard socket on it to a hand tool, an end wrench or a box wrench, whatever.
Yeah.
We've got to try to take a little bit of space out of the height of that tool, and the way to do it was to make it pass through.
Yeah.
It was absolutely focused on automotive.
Yeah. What about in terms of heavy duty diesel? Do you guys combine that too when you look at automotive, or is that like a whole nother field that Milwaukee's in?
Yeah, great question. We talk about automotive, and that's too narrow, and that's what you're pointing out. We actually internally call the space transportation maintenance, so transportation and vehicle maintenance, and that includes heavy duty diesel for sure.
Okay,
we love that space. Those guys are tool junkies, and I mean that in the most positive way. Yeah. And there's a lot of opportunity for us to innovate and provide value for them.
Nice. Yeah, because definitely when it comes to heavy duty, so I know those tools, they get rough and tumbled a bunch, especially when you're out in the field and whatnot, They
For
really
sure.
field
You're
tested.
talking about the mobile side?
Yeah.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know. But also, speaking of a mobile side, like as Milwaukee, because whenever I'm looking for a Milwaukee tool, it's typically I'm going to a big brand store and getting it. Has Milwaukee ever considered doing like the truck style, business style, like Snap on or Mako, where they go to a business, say, "Here's your tool every week," you know what I mean? Or has that been off the radar?
Um, w- I may sound like I'm dodging your question here, but I'm trying to
Okay,
clarify.
okay.
We, our tools are available on tool trucks, on mobile trucks.
Oh,
I'm sure
okay.
you're aware of that.
Yeah, like I,
Are you
I,
aware of
I
that?
like I know like my Snap-on rep can get them, but like it's not like a Milwaukee branded truck, for example.
That's correct. Yeah. We are not considering at the moment selling direct.
Hmm.
We believe that our partnership with the various the various uh, automotive tool truck brands
Yeah.
is important. So no, we're not considering selling direct right now.
Okay. What about in terms of your guys' like hand tools and stuff? Because I know there's a lot of other competitors, and with going in the automotive industry, is it? How would you guys say you stand out in that field?
Um, I believe we have some really strong hand tools. We've got really
Mm-hmm.
really great hand tools, and I would say where we focus is not just making Me Too products. Meaning we don't just go to somebody's factory and say, hey, slap the Milwaukee brand on this for me so I can
Yeah.
sell it under the Milwaukee brand. We try to again identify opportunities for innovation and pain points and productivity enhancement. So when you look at some of like our chrome sockets, for
Mm-hmm.
example, that are flat and don't roll, it sounds gimmicky, but it's a game changer for people that have sockets rolling away from them. When you look at our impact sockets, they're extremely, extremely durable. They're not just something we bought off the shelf. They're durable and they've got really great markings on them because one of the things we identified on those is that the markings on an impact rated socket wear off really, really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So, we look for opportunities across, our hand tool and accessory line to improve on pain points and improve productivity for those users. So I'd say that's how we stand out. And the durability, like that's just a given. Like it's an ante into the game for us. It's got to be extremely durable.
So I know one of the things that our listeners are going to be thinking of as we're talking about this is how do they keep up to date with what's coming with Milwaukee? Like, what's the best way to figure that out?
Yeah, I'll give you two ways. One is our website is really up to date, but number two, we do an event every summer. We call it Pipeline.
Okay.
The reason we call it Pipeline is because if you think about what's in the pipeline,
Mm-hmm.
it's what's in our pipeline, and we try to unveil what's coming in the next 12 months. So typically the event's in somewhere like the June, July, August timeframe.
Okay.
And we stream it on our site. We have a lot of media partners that stream it, and you can get it on all our social channels.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, like if you went to Instagram right now and you typed in Milwaukee Pipeline 2024,
Yeah.
you'd see a ton of activity on that. And same thing for our event that's going to happen here this summer, which I don't think we've locked in a date yet.
Oh, okay. I'm definitely going to need to keep an eye out for that then.
Yeah, for sure. It's the best way to keep up to date with what we've got coming.
Yeah. I see Jeremy's pulling up on our computer right now. He's getting ready.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a video. I was worried it was going to make noise.
So with that being said, I think Cole, like we've been talking for a good amount of time right now. Do you have any questions for us at all?
Are you guys having fun doing your podcast? You guys, how long have you been doing it? About a year?
It's almost a year, and it's nuts how much it's grown. It's actually been mind blowing.
It's actually been really hard to track how big we've gotten.
What like how are you guys measuring how big you are? I know that sounds like a dumb question, but I just want to figure out like what's in your guys' head there.
So, you want to go with it?
Yeah, so there's a couple things that we're looking at, right? One, downloads, how many downloads we get a week, or
Or streams
for our new new shows, how many times it's streamed, and then our social media growth. I think when we first started the social media, it was a little slow.
It was slow. We had some growing pains. We're still growing that one. It's been interesting, like, for example, like, and our listeners know this too, like, on our YouTube, it's one of our smaller channels. But then you get on to Spotify, and we've had episodes reach up in, multiple episodes up to 80 to 100,000 streams, going through.
Wow.
Yeah. And we're on every major podcasting network that is. We just found out, and we told our listeners at the beginning of this episode, that we found if you talk to an Alexa or a Google Home, it will play your newest episode of our podcast on it. And that's wild. That was a wild experience having that happen last weekend.
That's awesome.
So
where are you guys headed with it? Like, what's the long-term vision?
I don't know. For me, I like meeting new people and new guests, and it's just interesting getting in this kind of field. What about you, Jeremy?
Cool.
I would say the same thing. It's been a lot of fun meeting the people that we have and having the interesting conversations, not just about like car projects, but tools, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And hearing other people's take on, what they think a project is.
Mm-hmm.
That would be part of it. And then for me, as far as where I'd like to see it go, I mean, I'd love to see it continue growing, just like we have. And I don't necessarily think at this point monetizing it would be, where I want to go, but, keeping it fun and different.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
that's kind of what my thought was.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. It's been a wild ride, that's for dang sure. So,
Nice.
Yeah. So, Cole, we ask all our guests 3 very important questions. And I wanted to start off by asking you.
Hold on, let me ask this.
You want to ask this? Jeremy's going to ask these ones.
Do you know what the questions are?
Grant sent them to me yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking at them.
Okay, good.
And I don't remember all of them, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
No, it's perfect.
Jeremy, do you want to ask the questions?
I'll ask them. Yeah.
Okay,
so the first question. What 3 vehicles would you really like to drive someday?
and this is vehicles, mind you.
Doesn't have to be a car.
Nope, it could be an airplane,
you
it could
want.
be a tank, it could be anything.
Yeah, I think the number one thing, so when I saw this yesterday, the number one was easy. I want to drive, I don't know if this is good or not, I want to drive a trophy truck
Yes!
in Baja. I want to drive like a Menzies trophy truck in Baja. That would be cool. I went to the Baja a bunch of times when I was younger, and that is so freaking cool. Have you guys been down there before?
I have not. How was that? Jeremy's big into Baja.
Yeah, I've never been to the Baja 1000. That's on my bucket list. But
Yeah.
when I was a kid,
It is so cool.
Yeah.
when I was a kid, I grew up going to like the Mickey Thompson off-road races, and then we had some smaller Baja type stuff out in Eastern Washington that we would go to. So
Yeah.
that was always a blast for me.
Yeah, those Baja races are cool. And there's a bunch of reasons for it. Number one, obviously the racing's great, the cars are great. But number two, I don't know if you guys have been to Baja California, Mexico, but just the culture down there is really cool. The people are great. The energy in those towns, whether it's Ensenada, San Felipe, or some of the smaller towns down there, is just really cool when the races are going on.
Mm-hmm.
So it is great. If you ever get the opportunity, I highly recommend you get down there. And,
I will.
We definitely need to.
I will be doing it.
I guess number 2, I don't have the balls to do this, but I'd love to get in a fighter jet and get behind. I don't know what you call that. I'd love to drive a fighter jet. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but that would be freaking cool.
Don't say it's not going to happen. That totally can happen.
No.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Like I said, I don't know if I have the balls for that, man.
They could potentially put you in the back seat.
That's one.
And fly you around.
You first start with VR, and then you go with VR motion, and then you go to the co-pilot seat, and then you take over.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
That would be epic.
There you
though.
go.
Yeah. Imagine being with Blue Angels and doing their aerial acrobats.
No.
Oh, that'd be so sick.
No thanks.
Oh. What about number 3?
Yeah, and then I'd love to take any supercar on the Nürburgring in Germany. Like I would just love to be able to have the opportunity to go do that in like a Porsche, a McLaren, whatever.
What
that would.
do you consider? Do you have a brand that you consider yourself like? Are you a Mustang guy? Are you a Ford guy? Are you a Ferrari guy?
Well, this is always such a divisive question. But yeah, I would say when you look at like Ford versus Chevy, I'm more of a Ford guy.
Mm-hmm. Good choice.
For sure. Yeah, but I bought the Land Cruiser in 21.
Mm-hmm.
Toyotas have grown on me, and I think it's okay to like both Ford and Toyota, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You can like multiple brands. Like for me, for example, I'm a diehard Ferrari fan as well. I'd say a good Ford fan, but I like all sorts of cars of all sorts of life.
Yeah.
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 If for the supercars though, could you narrow it down to one you think on the Nürburgring you'd like to take out more than the rest?
I'd probably a Porsche. So I lived in Stuttgart, in Germany, a little over 10 years ago.
Nice.
And Porsche is based there in Stuttgart, in southern Germany, and so I'd probably want to get behind the wheel of a Porsche.
Nice.
That would be epic.
Yeah. Jeremy, next question.
GT3 RS.
GT3 RS.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
What 3 cars would you like to own if money were no object?
Dun dun dun.
So now you're back to car.
Your
Back to car.
dream garage. Well, it could be
It could be a
vehicles.
truck.
I don't know why we keep putting cars. It should be vehicles. What vehicle?
Can I just own those 3 vehicles I just mentioned?
Oh,
Can
yeah.
I just use that as an answer?
Heck yeah. I mean, yeah, no, definitely. Because, like, for me, I think when we initially talked about this, trophy truck was
yours was a trophy truck.
Yeah,
on
trophy truck was like one of 5.
Mine was just a bunch of supercars.
Nice.
And then this
last
one is this last one's really defies.
What is your hard no? Like,
yeah, I thought about this one too. I was thinking about that when I was driving to work this morning, and I think this is going to be a divisive answer no matter what.
Yep.
I cannot understand. I hope I don't offend you guys.
Okay.
I cannot understand some people's obsession with Mazda Miatas.
yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
please elaborate on this.
No, I'm not. I'm not, because I feel like I might get in trouble.
No.
So you're saying Miata isn't always the answer?
Oh, Rob.
Everyone's
come on. Tell me what I'm missing here.
There will be some people crying.
like Rob used to own a Miata. That was one of his cars. He's swapped to the Chevys though. He's now into a Corvette.
So I'm not in love with the Miata either. I don't think it's an awful car. It's not my hard no. I would definitely get in one and drive one, but I could see somebody not understanding the allure of it.
I could see that too, because if you on paper it's a front engine car, it's lightweight-ish, but like there's no creature comforts. It's underpowered. Like if you looked at a stat sheet, you would think it's a Volkswagen Bug without seeing the car.
On paper and realistically, that car is nothing special.
Until you get behind the wheel.
No, it's 100% nothing special. Come on.
Yeah.
Really?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the support here.
It is just another car. It's not like your Porsche GT3 RS, It's not like your oh God, what's the new Mustang that just did the Nuremberg?
Oh, the GTD.
Yeah, the GTD. It's
a
not
ZR1.
It's not a ZR1. It is nothing special.
Mm-hmm.
They're small. They're lightweight. They have decent power, for the weight, the power to weight ratio, and they handle well. Okay, I get that.
Would you feel the same way if it was Coyote swapped? Because I know people have been doing that.
Then you're just overpowering it.
I would get behind the wheel of that, I think, just for fun.
Okay.
All right, cool. We will get your address offline, and I'm shipping you a PT Cruiser after the show.
Yeah, I think PT Cruiser was on that list too.
Was it? That's probably our number one answer is a PT Cruiser.
Yeah.
But
yeah, PT Cruiser, I thought about that as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, Edwin.
But yeah, Cole, we really appreciate the time and talking to us, and this has been a very interesting conversation.
Cool. I'm glad to hear it. Hopefully I didn't go too deep on some topics, but
No,
you guys enjoyed it.
We love going deep. That was amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely.
hear it.
Though, if you have any updates on a coffee maker, send me a text, and I'll be like, "Oh, I'm so excited."
Yeah, I'll send you money.
Yeah,
as soon as we find out.
Exactly.
Hey, we never say never, man. I can't commit to us making one, but I would never say never.
All right, or a prototype. I'll be like, "You need to do testing." I'm like, "Oh, I'm your man."
There you go. Okay, I know who we need to send it to.
There we go.
He's got a ton of batteries.
Yeah,
M12 and M18.
Yep.
So
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, it was nice talking.
All right, guys.
to you.
Well, thanks for the time. Yeah, thanks for the time.
Real fast.
Have a great evening.
Real fast. I forgot to say, is there any social media or anything you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
You mean like personal social media?
Well, either Milwaukee, like follow on Instagram or something like that.
Yeah, check us out.
Yeah.
Check us out on Instagram, Milwaukee. Milwaukee Tools, the handle. We've got Facebook, Milwaukee Tool North America.
Mm-hmm.
Check us out. Like if you're interested in seeing what new tools are out there, that's the best way. Like I said, we have pipeline, and when we do that pipeline event, you're gonna see all that when you follow us on social. So do that for sure.
Nice, awesome.
Cool. All right, guys. Have a great evening.
yeah,
You too.
have a good night. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.
Well, that was fun.
Dude, he was a good guest.
That was so awesome.
I got to tell you something, though.
Yeah.
You got to quit saying go deep.
What?
It just doesn't sound right, man.
We like to go into the conversation.
Oh, no, go deep. Dude.
Okay. Phrasing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You wanted to talk about retirement homes and where to find cars.
No, retirement communities. So I was trying to explain this to you the other night, and I don't think I did a very good job.
Okay.
So I just got back from Yuma, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
My wife's family has a house down there, and the point I was trying to make was when I was down there, it's a retirement community.
Mm-hmm.
It's a large population of people much older than we are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
A lot of people older than me. Thank you for making me feel
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty young, but what I'm saying is they're the 55 and older crowd. There's a lot of the 55 and older crowd down there.
Yeah.
And a lot of snowbirds.
Mm-hmm.
And what I noticed when I was down there was two things. A lot of people down there have some older cars and motorcycles and that kind of stuff, right? And
Are you talking about in various conditions, or are you talking about like they're pristine?
no, not all of them are pristine.
Okay.
Most of them are in pretty good shape. And I wouldn't say any of them were like 10 out of 10 cars.
Okay.
Okay. I wouldn't say you're going to go down there and find your next, Superbird that is, $500,000 car.
Yeah.
You're not going to find that down there.
Maybe in a garage of a beauty queen that's rubbed with a diaper and polished with the sign next to it every so often.
Probably not down there.
No.
No, and probably not in a lot of different
Retirement home communities?
I would not in a lot of these older type communities, right? Retirement type communities.
Okay.
I wouldn't say you're going to go down there and find those, but what you are going to find is a very well done flat fender Willys Jeep. You're going to go down there and you're going to find some really decent examples of Camaros. Well, 70s, 60s, 70s Camaros. You are going to find, the mid 60s to mid 70s Mustangs that are in decent shape.
You're finding like the dream cars of these people. Once they hit retirement, they wanted that car.
Or they were cars that they had when they were growing up or when they were younger, it was a car that they had and they just kind of hung on to it. And then they moved it down to this area. Or once in a while you find them on lots down there. Like there's a couple consignment lots that are down there. So kind of the point I was trying to make when I was talking to you about this the other night was, if you, for our guys, and I didn't really look up any car projects, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Because I think you're probably not going to find these that I'm talking about on your Facebook marketplace or anything like that, right? Because a lot of the older generation, they don't use social media. Some of them do. Don't get me wrong.
They have grandkids that can post for them, Yeah.
Or, some of the early 50s, will have the social media, but maybe it's the guy that's, 80 years old that has the really nice 65 Mustang isn't going to have social media, right? He probably doesn't pick his phone up very often. And if he does, it's because he's out doing something and he's waiting for his wife to call or whatever, right? But what I was getting at was, I think this is an area, and I think it's just one of many areas that you could vacation in and find that project you're looking for, and
Like a good starter base.
yeah. And it'd be relatively rust free because, it's out in the desert. Maybe there's a little bit of sand.
That's not like my example on that one is I have an uncle who's got a 55 Ford. It was when he bought it in a concourse style condition. I would say now it's a okay to decent condition. And depending on how he takes care of it and goes on from there on, And I feel like you're right. There's a lot of people who may have their cars get to that level or may fall, if they were already okay, they might fall below that. And that's a very good starting point for any project guy, because if you're not a big body guy, less work to do with rust removal and stuff, or if an engine's already, it's a good style block to start with. Now you got more power to put into it.
Yeah, or, you could find that car down there with the really good body and maybe the motor or transmission shit the bed.
Yeah, that's true. And I bet you a lot of those cars have really good interiors too. Because like they're not driven around that much or kept in the garage.
Yeah, because a lot of those people are only there for 3 or 4 months a year.
Yeah.
And they're from all over the country, right? We met a lot of people from Alaska, Montana, Wyoming, a couple from Oregon. Didn't really meet anybody from California. East Coast, a couple of East Coast folks down there that we met.
Yeah.
And
do you think most retirement communities would be the same? So say if they went to Maine, that's kind of the same culture for cars you would see?
So I don't think you're going to go to Maine and find that. I can't guarantee that. But if you were to go to Florida,
that's a good one.
Down to one of the retirement communities down there, yeah, I think you're going to find that.
Yeah.
Or, maybe Texas or, God, where's another one? Alabama. Yeah, I think you're going to find some of those retirement communities like that have them. But they're probably going to be more south. Right.
Yeah.
The other locations I was thinking were old mill towns.
Interesting. How come?
So we live in the Northwest.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is we have a city called Longview, the Longview-Kelso area. Right. In the summertime, if you go up there or go out to Long Beach and do, I think it's called End of the World Rod Run, there are thousands of cars that go out there for that cruise. And a lot of them come from that Longview, Kelso area. And in the summertime, you'll see those guys pull their vehicles out of the garage and clean them and cruise them. And they actually get out there and drive them, you know. It's kind of interesting. So I think a lot of those old mill towns like that have a pretty good population of those kind of cars. And I think those cars get passed down from generation to generation or get bought by the younger generation from the parents and stuff like that. Which I think is really cool, you know. And you'll see them in various conditions, you know. But I think in a lot of those mill towns, there's a pretty good number of cars that are done, or you know, and really good specimens. And I think you're going to find some really good project cars there too. And that's not just Longview Kelso. That goes for any other old mill town.
I'd say not just Milltown, but small town.
Yeah,
I think it would fit that.
but like I'm saying mill towns because in the Northwest we had a bunch of mills,
Yeah.
right? And
We
if
also had a lot of gold rush cities.
yeah, if you go to any one of those old towns, a lot of the people stayed for most of their lives in those towns, and then they raised kids, and the kids stayed. And those cars that they drove in the 50s and 60s and 70s stayed. They hung on to them.
Yeah.
And then some of those people started restoring them and turning them back into, you know, a car that looked like it did in its glory days.
Yeah. And either some of them did get it fully finished, or some of them actually just...
They're sitting there in the
Sitting
garage waiting for the next person to, you know, take the reins.
Well, we've talked about this several times. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not.
Yeah,
I
sometimes
mean, look
it's
at me with the
sometimes
Lambo project. I took over someone's uncompleted project.
Yeah.
Granted, it's been a fun experience, but it's also been a headache at times trying to figure out what that person did.
Yeah. And I think my opinion is my opinion. I think a kit car is slightly different than a
Restoration project.
restoration.
Yeah.
Because your kit car, he built from nothing.
Not nothing.
Oh,
You
yeah.
start with the Fiero, and then you start
No.
with the fiberglass body.
Right.
And then some wood.
He started with
A lot of wood.
nothing and turned it into a car that looks remotely like a Lamborghini.
I don't know if you could say that, because that's saying like you start with, say, just, you know, a 70s Camaro. That's not nothing. That's starting with the Camaro. He started with the Firebird. He started with the base of a car.
He started with the frame,
Yeah.
most of the frame, of a Firebird. Fiero.
Wrong bird.
And he kind of made it a Lamborghini-ish body to it.
He put the Lamborghini body on there.
He kind of mated them
With wood.
together. bolted.
I see you
bolted
tried to
by
underplay
wood.
the Lamborghini glory. With a lot of fiberglass, a lot of hope and dreams.
Yeah, it's a lot of hope and dreams.
Yeah, and then you give it to me, and I started really trying to dial that in. You know, extending the frame, actually putting rails in, and getting it thick and supporting. You know,
A little
and-
better support, yeah.
Yeah, but it goes back to what you're saying with the retirement community. That's me. I took someone's project over.
Yeah.
There's someone out there that's going to go to these small towns and these retirement communities and find the project of, you know, the person that is ready to let it go because they're like, it needs a better home, or they weren't unable to finish it.
Right.
And I think you're right. That's a good spot for people to look for that.
Yeah, I think it's a great spot. You know, it's kind of like the barn finds thing.
That's the other thing I was going to ask you. Do you think barn finds still exist today with the internet going around? And
Dude.
What?
Are you not following Chad?
Yes.
Okay, the Chad
Yes, the Chad.
found
Yeah.
a C10 barn find not long ago and bought it.
Okay.
It's his number 3 truck for the year, by the way.
That's the Chad. He finds everything.
Yes. So, do I think barn finds are out there? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
There are still some barn finds out there.
They're definitely harder to find than they used to be.
Well, yeah, you know why?
Because of the internet.
Because people are finding them.
Okay.
And as people find them, there's less of them.
Yeah, that's true on that one. I will say, though, what's the proper etiquette for, like, if you see a barn, not sure if there's a car in it, Do you approach someone, say, "Can I look and see if there's a car in here?" Or
Hey,
do you have to wait until
What
it's
do you got in the barn? What do you got in the barn? You got anything in the barn
honestly,
that's,
sometimes there's
that might be
good cars in
interesting?
there.
I mean, if you're a friend of theirs,
Yeah.
yeah, you fucking ask them.
Okay.
If you're not a friend, I'm not sure I'd run onto the property and like beg for.
Okay. So
Beg
then
to
how,
look in the barn.
Let's say it's out in the public. Like there's like, I think me, Rob, and you talked. This is a long time ago, about me seeing a GT40 in a field. Do you remember that? It might have been.
Yeah, somebody drove by and saw a GT40.
Yeah, and it's like
growing in the grass or something. Right?
How do you approach someone like that? Even
if you can see it out in the field, pull up to the nearest farmhouse and go, "Hey, do you know whose car that is?"
Yeah,
I'd be
I
interested.
got a fat stack of cash right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that you can do that kind of stuff still.
Yeah.
And most farmers aren't going to run you off.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it depends on how you approach them.
Yeah, I mean, if you're approaching
if
and
you're
you're
coming
a
at
complete
midnight
asshole,
if you're coming at midnight with your radio blaring and horn honk, I didn't know whose car that is. You know?
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing that and you're being a complete asshole,
Yeah.
you might as well kiss that car goodbye. But if you like,
Hat in hand.
hey, tell me about this car out here. You know, what do you know about it? Whose car is it? You know, is it for sale? You know, most people are generally receptive to talking about whatever it is. I mean, if you can't see it inside the barn, that's a little harder to, you know, walk onto somebody's property and just say, "Hey, what do you got in the barn? Anything cool?"
Yeah.
You know,
I guess
that's none of your goddamn business.
I guess one of the ways you could approach that would be is just word around town. Word around town is, I heard you have blank in the barn.
Yeah.
You know, or that's when you do your research and find out who, like if it's a very rare car, like Ferrari or Shelby, where did that car go? There's a registration of all these cars. You find out where the owner was, what was it last seen, who was it last registered to, and what was the possibility of that. And that's how you can narrow it down that way. But then if you have to approach an area where you're not sure it is, that's the best is approach a house and be like, "Hey, I heard, or this is what I found. Do you know any information about this?" And if you can approach, I think honestly, how do you feel about this, Jeremy? And possibly to our listeners too. Is it better to approach a property and knock on the door, or better to find the phone number and then call that property? I feel like if you...
I have mixed feelings on that.
Yeah. Let me hear them.
I have mixed feelings.
Okay.
If you're driving by and you see something out in a field.
Yes.
And it catches your eye.
Okay.
And it's a working farm.
Okay.
I don't see any problem with pulling on and inquiring.
Okay. But if it's a non-working farm, because a lot of people now, they move out to the countryside just to have the land space.
If it's not a non-working farm, and
because I feel
if it's a non-working farm and you notice like cars are gone for the day and then they come back in the evening, that might be a situation where I would feel like a stalker, one. And two, I might feel like asking around and trying to gather information before talking to them might be more beneficial.
Yeah. As I feel like if you give someone a phone call nowadays that's from a random number,
a lot of people aren't going to answer.
A lot of people aren't going to answer. They're going to screen your call. But I also feel like when you do get on that phone call, it's going to be less intimidating than just a random person approaching your property. And it depends on your personality. Some people will want to talk to you. Some people are like, I'm out here in the middle of nowhere to be left alone. Why are you on my property?
Right.
Yeah.
And some of them are, some of them aren't.
Yeah.
You know, it depends on what it is. Like I said, you know, for example, when we go to Alaska, people want to meet you. You know, the first time we showed up there, my wife's family was super excited to see her and meet me for the first time. They traveled hours in car to come see us, you know, and I would assume in some of those farming communities that is a thing. You know, they're interested in seeing people and having conversations. And if you're not comfortable doing that, go down to the local watering hole, start talking to the bartender and anybody that shows up and say, "Hey, you know whose
You're on the side quest now. You're asking all the NPCs, where do I actually buy this car?
Yeah, or you start asking, hey, do you know whose car that is? I'm
Yeah.
super interested in it. And, maybe Jim Bob at the end of the bar is like, yeah, I know whose car that is. Let me make a phone call for you.
Well, and that's another thing. Alaska's a good comparison because, like, how often do you guys get calls about cars that you got up there? Like the truck or...
I've had a couple calls. Well, Mariah got a couple calls about the boat.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really had any calls about the truck that's up there, but the boat, she's had calls about the 20,000 gallon water tank that's down there.
Yeah.
On the lower property, a couple people have called about using the excavators and stuff like that.
So then while you guys were up there, then has it been about the same communication, or has it been less or more? Are people more approach you?
Oh, no. People will approach you up there.
Okay.
Well, here's the other thing. The the property that we stay at has the gas station on it.
Okay, that's true. You have people coming to you for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when they do come to you, do they ask you about, hey, is this for sale? Is this a thing?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah. And that's a huge thing up there, right?
Yeah.
You don't just find shit.
Yeah.
You don't just run to the store and buy something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some stores on the island, but most of the stuff, like if you want to do something custom at the house, you're shipping it. You're probably going to ship it somewhere to the island and you're going to go drive for it.
If you're shipping it, that means there's going to be, at some point on some timeline, a manifest of what went to the island. Let's just say an island. And that could be like for not just Alaska, that could be for Hawaii, whatever, right?
There's probably not a complete manifest of everything that's gone to the island.
But there is a good manifest somewhere of stuff being shipped. No?
No.
I feel like if you have to
Nobody's
transport anything by boat or whatever, it's got to have a list somewhere. The reason I bring that up is because, say, if you're searching for a very specific car or a rare car, you can use that as a tool to be trying to find that project.
Yeah, I think I think you're probably hoping for somebody to keep better logs than they do. I would say some of the bigger shipping companies probably keep a log of what they have shipped on which container vessels and stuff like that. Yes. Yeah. But I don't think you're going to see a long standing of, everything that they've shipped over the last 10 years.
True on that one.
I don't think they're gonna hang on to them for years and years.
Well, it's what, 10 years for records until people get rid of them?
7 to 10.
Yeah, I guess that means no classic cars anymore. Classic's now 20 years old.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
25, right?
Yeah. So, well, I guess with that being said, yeah, good place to start with finding projects. Small towns,
farm communities, retirement communities. What did I call them? Oh, old mill towns.
Mill towns, yeah. Ghost towns don't really count, do they?
No, ghost town's slightly different. That's a town that was and then it wasn't.
Because there's absolutely no one in the ghost town.
Yeah.
But can't you find treasure there? Just people left stuff in the bin there. Because we're in the Northwest, there's a lot of ghost towns. Surprisingly, I haven't been to one. There's a whole tour about it. Anyways. Yeah. But I bet you can find a lot of cool pre-war cars just sitting around.
In the ghost towns?
Mm-hmm.
Pre-war cars.
So it'd be 1930, 1920.
Well, it depends on what kind of town, right? Because if it was an old gold mine ghost town,
yeah,
you're probably looking at horseless carriages.
What about a steel town?
An old steel town, yeah. I mean, that's like the old mill towns that I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's not just sawmills; it's sawmills, steel mills.
Industrial.
That's
what we should have said. Industrial towns.
Yeah, a lot of those, like Detroit. Probably has a hotbed of old
I bet you
cars.
The little cities around Detroit.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, up in Milwaukee and stuff like that, 100%. You're probably going to find some old towns that have that stuff.
Yeah. Makes sense. Well, another thing I wanted to talk to you about today, Jeremy.
Let's do this.
It's getting colder now. So I was thinking the good thing we talk about today is about snow and how to deal with that and possibly mudding. Yeah. I know you've got some experience on that one.
A little bit, yeah. Actually, in both.
Perfect. I think that's one of the things that people need to understand is because as we've been driving and it's been getting colder, we've been seeing snow here and there. And in Portland, we don't get very much snow, about maybe an inch or two. But it's enough where it shuts down the city for a good amount of time.
Yeah.
And even though it's easy to get through, quote unquote, the hardest part is a lot of it becomes ice.
Yeah.
And it's having to deal with that. And not everyone who thinks they come here and thinks, oh, it's just snow, they don't understand that thin layer, even though it's an inch or two, once it freezes over, it becomes a frictionless surface. So, like for me, when it starts snowing, or potentially snowing, I keep in my truck, one thing always is a big play sand. It's super handy to have, cheap and easy, lightweight to put in there, and it's because when you do get to those spots where it is just ice and you can't go on let's say off the highway on a road, throw in your tire, immediate traction, and having a 50-pound or a 50-pound bag means you got a good enough for 20, 30 scoops. You don't need much on your car tire.
No, just a little bit of sand.
It's enough to get
gets you some
traction.
traction, yeah.
To get you out of that jam just to get going.
I used to have a 2-wheel drive truck. My first truck was a 1983 Ford Ranger.
Yeah.
Loved that truck. I used to keep sandbags that my grandpa made in the back of that thing in the wintertime.
Was that for what I was using for or for weight?
Well, little of column A, little of column B.
Okay.
So the majority of it was for the weight in the back.
I think real fast, I think that's one thing that a lot of new truck owners don't understand is even though it's a truck and it looks big and heavy, there's nothing in the bed.
Yeah, it's light.
Empty air. You need to fill that with something to get some weight down. That being said, though, sometimes you really can't. Like on the 250, the springs are too stiff. I mean, you want to put some weight in there, it's going to require several thousand pounds instead of a couple.
Yeah, but you're not trying to load it down. You're just trying to get some weight in the back to keep the tires down.
Yeah.
You're not trying to make the ass end of the truck sag.
Yeah.
You're like in my 83 Ranger.
Okay.
Right? Those 2 bags that my grandpa made, they were inner tubes that he filled with sand and clamped the ends with metal of some sort, some like a wire tie type thing.
Okay.
And I would venture to guess those things were probably 50 pounds a pop. Now, like I said, the majority of the reason they were in there was for the weight to keep the ass into the truck from sliding around.
Yeah.
And if I had to, I could untie one of the ties and throw a little bit of sand under the 2 back tires to get it moving. Didn't do that very often, but I have had to do it.
Yeah.
And, same thing in the bigger 4-wheel drives. Once in a while, you put a little bit of weight in the back just to keep the ass from moving around too much.
Yeah, but like, for example, like I think the payload capacity of the 250s you and me drive are 6,000 pounds. And I mean, even to make a dent in that, like say you put 100 pounds in it, that's just an extra person. I feel like with a bigger truck, depending on how your payload scale is, you want...
I would say the more weight you put back there, the better.
Yeah.
But 100 pounds is better than no pounds. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess you're on that one. Like for me, but if I was, say, I would put like maybe 400, 500 back there.
So the last time I did it,
yeah,
not in the F-250, but the...
Ranger?
No, the 1500 I had.
Yeah. Yep.
I just scooped a bunch of snow into the back.
That's a good idea. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I just took a flat snow shovel and scooped, like, the bed of the truck was almost level. Mm-hmm. And I would venture to guess that was probably 800, 900 pounds.
That would explain a lot. So I saw the other day a guy with a truck, and literally his entire bed was full to the top of snow. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, that guy didn't clear out this bed. That's kind of ridiculous. But no, now that you say that, I didn't even consider that of using snow as a weight ballast.
Yeah,
that's a really genius idea.
It's weight. Two, when it gets warm and it melts, it goes away.
Yeah, that's true on that one. And it's free. It's from the sky. It comes down.
Yeah. Most of it was already there anyway. I just had to add some.
Exactly. What about, like, one of the things I keep on me when it's the snow time is not only a shovel, because obviously you need to dig or fill or whatever. I carry planks of wood.
Yep.
And a hammer.
I don't know about a hammer, but I usually have a couple 2x6s.
So the reason I keep those, and for listeners going on that way, is when you're stuck in, say, in deep snow or mud or whatever, where the fact is you can't get traction, and sand isn't an option because it's just spilling in. By putting wood in underneath it or hammering it into the ground underneath, now you make a new surface that you can get some traction on. That's not liquid or not a potential keep melting or slipping.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Just stuffing that 2x6 under the tire, I've gotten myself out of some stuff. Mm-hmm. In the mud, it's a little different though.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So in the mud, I have tried that.
Yeah.
And just in a 2-wheel drive rig, the old Ford Ranger, if you stuff that in there and it's on an angle, at all uphill, the mud on the tires on that wood just gets slick.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that doesn't really help. But, some of those plastic, what do you call them?
Coats.
No, the little plastic things that you can get that actually are made for doing that.
No,
they have like little bumps on them and stuff like that. You actually stick them under the tire. They use them out in the desert a lot.
I don't know about that, but I think the closest thing would be like one of those plastic, not tire jacks, but you run up for lifting your tire off the ground.
Yeah, and that's not this.
No? Okay.
No, they're like 4 feet long.
Okay.
They're actually made to stuff under your tires. And
Okay.
They're like a high impact plastic.
Okay.
They actually make those where they have little bumps on the top.
Yeah.
So when you start to move, your tire has something to catch on to.
Okay.
So even if your tires are muddy, they still have something to grab for traction.
Yeah.
Where the wood doesn't.
Okay. Have you ever had, so snow chains is an obvious one. You ever use that with...
Snow chains work in mud, too.
That's what I was about to ask you, if you use them in mud.
My grandpa used to do it all the time. He had a 2-wheel drive Ford with a 400 small block in it. And it was positive traction. And he would chain up when he was trying to go through something that maybe he shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And
so
you'd be surprised. It'll get through some shit.
Interesting. So a good thing to go in for off-roading then would just be to keep on a set of chains?
It will get you out of some things that you wouldn't think it could.
And to clarify for our listeners, not cargo chains, like tire chains.
Good, real tire chains.
Yeah.
Not cable bullshit.
Well, why not? Why not cable?
Cables don't do the same thing.
You think what about for snow?
Snow,
different story?
They kind of do something ish.
Okay.
But I still think cable chains are useless junk.
How so? Just from your personal experience, do they slide more?
Personal experience, they don't do what an actual piece of chain is going to do.
Yeah. From my experience, I've used more chains than that, and those work really effective. I have not used the cable kind yet.
Yeah, you wouldn't be as happy with the cable. I guarantee that.
Yeah.
And if you've got the chains with the little V welded into the chain, those work even better.
Those are the best. Those I like a lot. Have you used the snow sock yet? Or is that what they're called?
Yeah.
Tire sock?
I have not used one.
I've seen the technology and I'm very fascinated, but I haven't grabbed one yet.
I have not used them. I have heard some people say good things about them, but I've never tried them.
Yeah, we should get some this winter.
It
wouldn't be a bad
That would make a decent little show.
Yeah.
We could get a couple different things, put them on some different cars and try them out.
Can you use those and compare it with also chains on your vehicle? I don't see why you wouldn't be able to.
You can't. I don't think you can use a sock and chains.
Okay, what about snow tires?
You can use snow tires and chains,
but studded snow tires and socks.
I don't know if you want to use studded tires and socks.
Yeah, I think it'd rip them up.
I think so too.
I've been having more and more of my tire guy trying to convince me to go the route of studless snow tires.
Yep.
And I've never done that before. I've always had studded snow tires.
I have done the all-season tires with the snowflake on them.
Yeah.
So they're snow rated.
Yep.
And had really good luck with them.
I keep hearing that.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you have a studded tire, and from what I've seen on YouTube and stuff, you get a little bit more performance, but it's not much. The new technology with rubber, how it's going, is you get a lot of grip with the new snow tire technology.
So, in the ice, on black ice and sheets of ice, you are never going to beat a studded snow tire or chains, in my opinion.
Okay. Do you think it's better than to have the penetration of a stud rather than the surface area of a? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, sorry.
I was listening.
Anyways, is it better to have the impact of a studded tire through the ice, or is it better to have the surface area that could be there from rubber? That's a thing to think about because that adds up with all those studs adding up in the contact patch.
In my opinion, on ice, I think the penetration of the studs into the ice is what does the most help.
Yeah. Studded tires, back to that whole debacle. Yeah, I know. From my experience, I think studded tires work a lot better if possible, but the problem is they're a lot harder to find now, I feel like. Finding for my old man's truck right now, there was only one brand. Granted, bigger tire, 22-inch tire. 20s, there's more options available, but like it just seems like there's less and less because...
He has a 22-inch wheel.
Sorry, that's what I meant, wheel.
Yeah. Holy shit.
I know, right? Well, because if you're in the bigger truck and the fancier trucks, they want to go the bigger rims.
Dad drives a donk.
Yeah. I wonder, a side note, I wonder how long until Chevy gets a standard set of 24-inch wheels on their trucks. It's not too far if they're at 22s.
More donkey.
Yeah.
I like it.
But yeah, in terms of that, like I feel like more tire manufacturers are going studless because they're
some of them are going to the walnut shell too and away from studs. So
I have not heard of this. Please tell me about this.
Oh man, so years and years ago they started testing nutshells embedded in the rubber, and they actually did really well in the snow.
Interesting. Like I've heard of it, like for
ice.
sandblasting.
Yeah, they use it for the media also for blasting, but yeah, they did it, and I don't know if they're still using the walnut shells or not, but I know way back in the day they did really well.
Yeah,
I'd be curious to see if there's any of those around, or if the rubber is so much better now than it was back then. You know, and I know a lot of the reason they're going away from the studs is the studs destroy roads when there's no snow on them.
that's true. That's one of the reasons I've been debating on if I want to even put the stud tires on my truck, because we don't. In fact, I need to do that this week because we are having snow.
Right.
But before that, where it's unsure, snow is beginning prepped at the beginning of the week, and then it doesn't actually come. That's a lot of time you're having your studs not only wearing the road down, but themselves. The nubs get worn down, and now you have a tire that's got just metal.
Yeah.
And it not penetrate metal, just slick metal.
Yeah. That's a hard one, right? I personally don't like leaving studded tires on if they aren't necessary, or if they aren't needed, you know?
Not everyone has the ability to have two sets of wheels to mount their tires onto. Like right now, for example, my truck, I've only got a single set of 20-inch wheels for my new truck.
Yeah.
And that I'm going to have to end off and have them out. I probably should buy a second set of wheels. Why am I thinking that? I probably should.
Probably.
But not everyone has
if
that
you're
ability.
going to have a set of winter tires and a set of summer tires, it's probably the best thing to do.
Yeah.
But like you said, how do you justify it?
Yeah.
You know, not everybody can afford that.
Yeah.
You know,
You're spending, say, what, $800 to $1,000 on tires, and then you're spending another, $250
to $300 a pop for wheels.
Yeah, and then you're going to only use them maybe once a year. Granted, when you do need them, I will say this, it is a lifesaver.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And chains do a good job when they need to, and snow socks we'll test out and see how they do.
Yeah.
But having the ability where you have to stop, prep for it, undo it, get the package out, it's cold outside, you're wet, and then put them on, use them for, the 20-mile-an-hour drive you're doing for, another 40 minutes until it's to the point where you don't need them, take them off. Whereas you have a winter tire, have it on and not worry about it.
I would be curious.
Yeah?
I would honestly be curious to do a winter tire show where we do studded and studless snow tires, and then we do the sock, the chain and cables, and just try them all and see what actually makes a difference.
When Rob gets back on the show, I want to ask him if he's got plans or if he knows, like for the Bronco, because of how big those tires are, if you can get studded tires on that thing.
What size are those tires?
35s.
Really?
Like 35, 33s from factory.
You can get studded tires for 35.
But for that size, you can't get them for 22s. I feel like getting at that size because they're so big and aggressive in tread pattern.
I've seen studded tires for my 36s and 38s before.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while, but...
Yeah. Well, again, it's been a while, and that's the thing is, like, most tire manufacturers are backing away from it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's possible. I wanted to see if he's looked into that.
Might be a little interesting to do some research on and come back.
Do you even get benefits when you're at that size?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because your rubber on a big mud tire is not going to do great on ice.
Okay.
Oh, we have a set of studded snow tires up in Alaska that are on somewhere between a 33 and 35 inch tire.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how old they are, but they're for my wife's truck up there.
Okay.
And I know they're studded. Okay,
Well,
so I got a story about mud
Okay.
that I want to tell. Since you have that on our list of where we've been stuck or whatever.
Yeah.
So my childhood best friend, one of them,
Okay.
and I, his name's Josh.
Okay.
We were out fucking around one night.
And finding out.
Oh, we found out bad. Well, I had that 83 Ford Ranger. He had an 83 Ranger that was four-wheel drive.
Okay.
I don't remember if he got grounded or if he wasn't...
He wasn't allowed to go out.
Well, he wasn't allowed to drive that night, I think.
Okay.
And maybe the truck was in the shop getting painted or something. I don't remember. But we had gone out and we were playing up in the hills one night. And we weren't very far from my dad's house, but we were, far enough away that it wasn't super close. We were kind of up in this area that we weren't really supposed to be in. We had to drive around a rock to get through and up there.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. And it was probably a few miles from the nearest anything.
Yeah.
So one night we're up there and it's probably, 11 o'clock or something like that, right? And he points down this road, go down that way, go down that way. So I freaking pull down that way and I get to the end of the road and it's dead end. He's like, we got to turn around. So we went to turn around and the road was a little muddy. Not very deep, but, the top layer of it was a slick mud. And I had a pretty decent little, off-road tire on that truck. And I went to turn around and got the front down this little decline. And I put it in reverse to try to back up. It wouldn't go anywhere. So I pulled forward a little bit, put it in reverse, tried to go. It wouldn't go. Fuck. Well, you're going to have to get out and push.
Oh.
So he pushed.
That's why you get a winch, Jeremy.
Well, it was a two-wheel drive truck.
That's why you get a winch.
I shouldn't have been out there.
That's why you get a winch.
So he pushed. It didn't go anywhere.
Oh, no, duh.
I'll tell you what worked.
Okay.
I had
A lot of hopes and prayers.
I had a 20-foot strap in the truck.
So no winch, but strap. Okay.
No winch, but I had a strap.
Okay.
And I had rope
Okay.
that was not super heavy duty, but it wasn't small either. It was God, what do you call those? The white rope that's like
Nylon?
yeah, it's that's it.
Yeah.
It's a nylon rope and it's over a half inch, probably 5/8, 3/4 inch rope, right? Pretty good size stuff. And I had like 100 feet of it. So I put the strap under the tire and around it, and I tied the other end of that strap to the rope and tied it to a tree. We put that sucker in reverse and backed right out.
Nice. That's how you do it.
Got out of that little mud thing, and then it was a little bit of an incline to get out of the road that we were on back to the little gravel road that wasn't very far up. And we were stuck again. So I ended up I ended up having to we ended up having to walk out of there.
You get it out the first time. You're supposed to be like, okay, you don't push your luck.
Well, we
This is what kids do.
We got it back up onto the mud road out of the little decline.
Okay.
But there was enough of an incline that we couldn't get the truck out of there.
Excuses.
So, and we couldn't put because it wasn't 4-wheel drive, we couldn't put the strap around the front tires and get it out.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a winch. We didn't have a come along. We didn't really have another way to
All
get us
rookie
out of
mistakes.
there. So we
Gotta
walked.
keep all that
We
stuff.
walked out. We walked out. We walked down to the front gate of what was Reynolds Aluminum back then.
Yeah.
Where my dad worked.
Yeah.
And we had the security guy call one of our other buddies, and the dude recognized me. He was like, "You look familiar." I'm like, "Huh? Wonder why." Do I know you from somewhere?
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe. My dad works here. Oh, what's your dad's name? And I told him, and he's like, yeah.
So tow truck later, and you guys were done.
We ended up calling another buddy who had a 2-wheel drive pickup.
Yeah.
And he ended up going up there, and he pulled us out.
Nice.
Yeah, he stayed on the gravel, though.
Okay. So I got to ask for a listener's sake. If they were in the same situation, let's just say without hindsight, what would you have recommended to someone in that situation to do?
Don't drive up that road.
If someone's already in that situation, I think what you guys do with the rope and the nylon, I think that was a very smart idea.
Yeah, I mean, that was one.
If you could have had any,
Good way.
like, say, item to help you in that situation, like for me, I kept saying winch. Obviously, on the 2-wheel drive, you're going off road. I think that's a really important thing to have to get you out.
A winch is not going to be a thing in a 2-wheel drive. That's
To pull you out of places?
nobody in their right mind is going to be 4-wheeling in a 2-wheel drive truck
Okay.
with a winch on it.
Okay.
That's not a thing.
Okay. So
If
then,
it was a 4-wheel drive, 100%.
so
put a
then
winch on
with
it.
your situation, and let's just say again, this is all for our listeners' sake, being in that kind of situation, what would you have brought or suggest them? This is what you needed.
So low budget.
Let's say a low budget, and then let's just say an okay budget.
Okay. If you're driving a 2-wheel drive truck and you're stupid like I was, and you end up in some of those funky situations, 2 come-alongs.
2. Why 2?
2 come-alongs, 2 straps, and that rope would be perfect.
Okay.
And 2 come-alongs because when you're ratcheting those things down, you're going to get to a certain point and not be able to pull it any farther. Then you're going to hook the second one up, start ratcheting, and undo the first one, and stretch it back out.
Okay, that makes sense. I was thinking 2 because that way if you most likely you're going to put it on a point of the car or at on one side of the differential, and it's going to kind of tweak it one side or the other. I was thinking 2 because
you can do that too. But
Okay.
in this case, if you're relatively straight and you're just trying to pull it out, I would use 1 to pull and 1 to prep for pulling.
Okay.
And then I would go ahead and, pull with the second one, move the first one, stretch it back out so you can do it again.
Yeah. Okay.
That's one way.
So now if you had a decent budget, not an extravagant, not like hypercar money. Let's just
So the second thing I would do is those little plastic things that we had talked about earlier in the show. I would get 2 of those, and you could stick those right under the tires and get yourself out of a lot of sticky situations. The other thing I would maybe do is sell that 2-wheel drive truck for a 4-wheel drive truck and then put a winch on it.
Okay. Do you think...
Come on, no laugh.
I
Sell that piece of shit and buy one 4-wheel drive.
Well, some people want to have a 2-wheel drive truck.
Yeah,
lighter,
But if you're driving a 2-wheel drive truck,
Okay.
don't go 4-wheeling.
Okay.
It's not a smart idea.
Well, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're just stuck.
Yeah.
You're on a road, say it's snowy and icy or whatever, and you slide off. But
if you slide off, that's one thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of more the situation I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
if you slide off, that's one thing. If you're pulling down a mud road,
Yeah.
you need to fucking stop and look at that road and go, should I really be on this with a 2-wheel drive truck? Is this the smartest thing I should be doing? 9 times out of 10,
It's assessment.
no is the answer. You need to assess the situation before you get into it.
Okay, that makes sense on that one.
But
sometimes you get, like, say, if you're driving home, it's a dirt road that you've been going on for years.
maybe it's washed out and
Exactly.
Yeah,
Or
that's
you're caught
different.
in a rainstorm,
Yeah,
and you have a tool drive because you don't expect to go 4x4 in with that.
Yeah,
but
no.
the situation can appear with that.
And I think that's a little different.
Yeah.
Because you have gotten into a situation that couldn't be controlled, right? If you slide off the road accidentally, if you come across a mudslide and oops, you're down the hill. If you, I don't know, maybe you're out on a logging road shooting and a freaking mudslide happens behind you.
Yep.
And it's not a big one, but just big enough that it makes the road shift a little bit and you got to
Just go off for just a hair just to get back on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What would you then, with the things we talked about then, for the average person, would you recommend they always keep that in the car? Or like for me, for example, I carry a strap in my truck,
I have a strap in the truck.
as well as
I have
ratchet
tie downs.
straps, but they don't really do much.
Yeah.
I mean, 2,000 pounds on a 2.5 inch, or you put two of them together, that's something.
Yeah.
I don't have to carry a come along for is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
But I
I'm
got
not
something
carrying a
that
come
could
along,
be-
but I have a couple of ratchet straps.
Yeah.
I don't have recovery gear. I don't have a bunch of recovery gear in the truck,
Okay.
but I do have a strap in the truck. So if somebody is off the road just a little bit, I can pull them back on.
Yeah. Well, we had that situation happen last year with your son.
Yeah.
I had to come out with an excursion and some straps, and it wasn't crazy.
And I think Mariah and I had the car. We
You
didn't
had
have
the car,
truck, right?
but this was a simulation or situation where the car just went off the road a little bit, and it wasn't crazy. He was check engine light came on. Somebody tried to pull on the side, didn't realize how steep the road was, and ended up needing to be pulled out.
Yeah.
And that's a common situation that can happen, even if you're not in a 2-wheel or 4-wheel drive truck.
I mean, yeah, he definitely pulled off the road too far and got into a situation where, oh shit,
Yeah. So having a truck like mine, I was able to bring that there with straps already in it. Sorry, and we just hooked it to the front where the tow hook is and just pull it out really slowly.
Yeah, it worked perfect. And placement of that strap was key.
Yeah.
Because we put it on the far side of the front bumper to make sure we wouldn't slide that car right
Break
down
a
that big
control
fucking
arm
hill.
or break a tie rod or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right on that one.
So, even if you have the equipment, you got to know how to use it.
Yeah.
At least a little bit.
Yeah. Sometimes us project guys can get caught in the thing and gotta be creative how we use our projects.
Yeah, I mean, take that 924 that we had brought into the garage here, right?
Yeah.
It took an act of God to get it off that trailer and up that hill.
Yeah.
A
lot. You guys used ratchet straps in that case
That was fun.
to pull it up. Yeah.
That was fun. I had. Were you here for it?
I was not.
Okay.
I hear about the stories all the time.
So for the listeners, I had a squat rack in the garage, and I had bolted the squat rack down to the floor. Well, I had to put threads in the floor so I could do it, right? And we ended up using a chain between two of those.
To preface for
holes.
our listener also is Jeremy's driveway is incredibly steep.
Oh yeah,
And
incredible.
at the time he had just gotten a 924 Porsche
And it didn't run.
project that did not run, and he had to get up this 20-foot driveway at a 45-degree angle into the garage.
I don't know if it's quite 45, but it's
an extreme angle.
it's gnarly.
20
It is
degrees.
definitely gnarly. It took everything we had, that chain, 2 ratchet straps, a bunch of other straps, and it took it took 2 engineers and a goat to freaking get that thing up the hill.
You guys got it then.
Yeah. Took a lot though.
Yeah.
I mean, Ryan and Cy were here for quite some time helping me winch that thing up the hill.
Yeah.
I think it took a couple hours.
Yeah. So, Jeremy, did you find any project cars for sale this week?
I did not.
You did not? What?
No, I was telling you earlier, the project cars I found were actually on lots. And that's why I brought that up.
Ah.
So
So you have an actual reason. I have no excuses. I did not have time to look up.
I didn't have time either, unfortunately.
Well, we'll save that time for the next show then. What do you think, Jeremy?
Yeah, let's call it.
All right. I want to thank Cole again for coming out from Milwaukee to being on our show. This is a really fun show today. It was exciting, and I feel like I learned a lot. What about you, Jeremy?
It was eye-opening.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that there was that many electric tools even on the market.
Yeah.
Let alone Milwaukee had over 400 tools.
Yeah.
You know, and like I had said before, I understood that the building industry had drills and hammer drills, and, you know, I knew there was the electronic ratchet, you know, the ones that you use on your tires and stuff like that. And I understood that those were a thing.
Yeah.
But I completely missed the fact that the bandsaw was battery powered.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't even think about like skill saws, sawzalls, and stuff like that. I have them.
Yeah.
You know, I have a couple of them, and I didn't even think about them.
Yeah.
And, you know, all the other things that are possible, and then the battery powered ratchets and stuff like that. You know,
It's really
you don't
cool
really think about it.
It's really cool seeing the innovation of just the different tools that they're applying in different areas.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I really like the fact that Milwaukee doesn't want to change the way the battery connects, right?
Yeah.
And okay, maybe they're going to update the batteries, but they want that new battery to work with the old equipment.
Yeah.
And they want
That's cool to hear.
the old batteries to work with the new equipment, you know. I think that's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. And then when I found out about the MX fuel being 72 volts, that's insane.
A lot of possibilities now.
Yeah, I don't know how heavy that is.
It's going to be interesting to be watching the pipeline streams and just see what comes down from Milwaukee and what's the brand new tools ahead of us. You know?
Well, and like I'm assuming that, you know, the jackhammers and stuff is what those 72 volt batteries are for.
Yep.
Jackhammers and probably big saws, concrete saws and stuff like that, right?
Just think of this, soon there'll be a coffee maker powered by batteries.
I was kind of looking at that MX battery going 72 volts, man. That's big enough.
Yeah.
The problem is it's a $600 battery.
Yeah, well, for now, but also
I don't think that battery price is coming down.
Yeah. That's for that. That's going that route. I'm sure that they'll be able to make something in the future, maybe on an M18 or something.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I'm excited to see what's coming through. But this is a good show today. All right, guys. Make sure to go check out Milwaukee and Milwaukee Tools. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. Give it a like. And, yeah, we will catch you on the next one. Later.